What's up, guys? Welcome back to the doctor's office. I am Dr. Kaori Knight, here to give you a proper diagnosis and prognosis and everything comics and comic book characters. And IDW said, get the fucking bag no matter what. So IDW Crime, come to the front, please, and thank you. So we have today killer influences coming out of IDW Crime. Okay. So this one very much is giving slasher, is it Slasher's Apprentice? I'm pretty sure. Slasher Apprentice's vibe. Slasher's Apprentice vibe from Bad Cave. I definitely like the premise for this because serial killers are my thing. I fucking love them. So we start in this town. It's Eden County, and it's like a steel making place. They have like a refinery, whatever, where they make steel, right? And we have our serial killer who goes about his normal day. He works up there, and after, he happily says goodbye to his co-workers, he goes to the bar and he sees a person stumbling out because that person is drunk, and it's just a lot of things going on, and he ends up killing that person in a back alley by choking him to death with a plastic bag. And decent way to kill somebody, right? But the main character that we are focusing on, her name is Kylie Hart, and she has a podcast called Backwoods Detective. And that's kind of where I'm getting the vibes from when it comes to Slasher Apprentice, because in Slasher Apprentice, the main character girl had a podcast where she was talking about serial killers. And I'll kind of just make those comparisons a little bit as we go on. So she's working on, because there's of course another murder, and she's working on getting this episode together while she's at work. But her boss is of course like, please do your fucking job that I hired you for. And she's just like, this is a shitty fucking newspaper or magazine, whatever it is that they work at. This is shitty. You're giving classifieds to perverts. I'm not understanding. So is she being a dick right now? Yes. Is he being a dick right now? Absolutely yes. And he was like, if it wasn't for your grandmother asking me to give you this job, you certainly wouldn't have it. And then her brother or her cousin, whichever one he is in there. I think it's her brother, Eric. Anyway, he's in there fighting with the fucking vending machine over some chips. And it's just like, first of all, do you work here? Like, why are you here? And then if he does work there, the both of them end up getting fired. Okay. But basically, he tells her to come back when she's ready to do things the right way. You know what I'm saying? So it's like her job is still kind of open, but she is also fired currently. So she can come back anytime. I just don't think that she actually wants to do that because she's trying to focus on her podcast. Now, when she does get back home, her grandmother is like, oh, he can't come in, and that's your mother's blood, not mine. And she's basically an asshole too, so that's where everybody's fucking getting this shit from. But he sleeps out in the car. She goes inside and she's working on the podcast, and she was like, oh my god, there is like another murder here. And everybody's like, well, according to his like social media, he was like some fucking weird Nazi guy. And they're like, oh well, good riddance type shit. Mind you, 14 people have gone missing and or have been like turned up dead in this town, and nobody believes that there's a serial killer on the loose except for her. So that's kind of weird, but you know how small towns work. They don't want to believe it's happening in their small town, even though it's happening in their small town. So she starts looking up everything, and our serial killer comes across her podcast where she's basically saying there is a serial killer in our town and nobody believes me. Of course, again, we know how small towns work. So she goes on, and at one point she does call this serial killer like a pervert, and he gets very upset about that and literally just starts talking shit to her, calling her like a fucking joke or something. And it's almost like it comes like as a direct text to her phone. And so the next morning she looks up and he's like, oh, you called me like a kitty diddler and all this other stuff. He's like, that's obviously not fucking true. And they're sitting there talking to each other. She goes to the library after her grandmother's like, oh, you got fired. You need to have a job if you're going to stay here. So she leaves. She goes to the library. And when she gets to the library, she looks up his information that he texted her from, because he's stupid enough to text her from it. And it gives her his IP, and she is able to look him up, face and everything. Sir, what the fuck are you doing? So they are still talking, and so she decides to be a stalker, and she basically like does a stakeout of his place of residence and sees him going in and out. He goes to work, comes back, takes his father to the doctor, comes back, and stuff like that. And at one point he has his father, like he brings his father out, and she goes back there and he puts a knife to her throat, and he's just like, what the fuck are you doing? And they're having this conversation, and she's trying to convince him not to kill her. And she's like, okay, so basically we can help each other, right? And he's like, and how do you think that's going to happen? And so she's like, okay, so let me tell you, let me build your lore. Right? People listen to my podcast, so I can basically build your lore up and make your name famous as a serial killer on some Jack the Reaper type shit. Right? And like, you know, once that happens, like we would basically kind of just split it, where, you know, whatever profits are coming from me come to you type thing. She's basically trying to make a deal. And so then she says, but if it doesn't work, you can kill me. You know, I'm not going to fight it or anything like that. And he's like, all right, cool. So he makes the deal, and like he can't kill her prematurely or anything like that. But then she starts talking about changing kind of like his approach, because it needs to be a little bit more of a spectacle, is what she says, and a little bit more creative, because he's kind of just doing stuff and it's not really memorable. It's kind of just boring. So she's going to work on his lore. He needs to get a little bit more creative. So she ends up leaving and she starts getting things together. He then goes and kills this guy with a golf club, sticking the golf club in his eyeballs. Okay. So the next day, the body gets found. Well, she actually ends up having to leave because she has to go pick up her brother from the police station because he's just fucking up all over the place. But the next day, she goes, and there's a body that gets found with his eyeballs cut out and replaced with golf balls. And then his eyeball is sitting on a golf tee in his belly button. If you wanted spectacle, you now have it. Right. So then, of course, she's just like, this is exactly what I needed. She tries to flirt with the police officer because she does know him. And he's just like, this is not a good time. Not good at all. But she does see it, and she does end up, a year later, becoming an incredibly famous and popular podcaster. She hits 1 million subscribers, and you know, she's making 6 figures on her like podcast and videos and things like that. He has not seen a single cent. He has not seen a single rise in anything that she promised him. But she's changed her hair, cut her hair, dyed it black. She's got the whole like gothic look going on, and she's making all of this money with absolutely no regards to him. And he's like, you know what? I should have killed you. I will see you soon though. Now, I'm not saying he's right, but I am saying that I understand. Because you're not about to play me, right? And I think that's kind of like where it veers off from being comparable to Slasher's Apprentice. Because in Slasher's Apprentice, she wanted to be his apprentice, right? She had a podcast. He actually ended up killing her family. And like when she was little, she like grows up to being a true crime podcaster and like covering serial killers and things like that, and covering him specifically. And then she ends up setting him up so that she could meet him, so that she could be his apprentice, right? And here we have where she is obsessed with like this, like the fact that is a serial killer in their town and that nobody is acknowledging it. And she goes so far as to find said serial killer, stalk said serial killer, come in contact with said serial killer, make a deal with said serial killer, and then ghost said serial killer as if he's not a serial killer. I can't tell if she still lives in the same town, but if you still live in the same town as him and you ain't giving him no money, that's crazy. That is an absolute wild thing to do, right? If it were me, I would have definitely like moved out of the town, right? I would have moved. If I was going to ghost a serial killer who I know is a serial killer, I would have left if I was going to do that, right? So if she is still in the town, are you dumb? But who knows? We will find out, of course. However, I do kind of like the art. I like the artwork of the gore. The artwork kind of just like up from day to day, it kind of like throws me a little bit, but it's not terrible or anything like that. I do like it. But this story is so fucking unhinged because it is somebody putting themselves in danger to be famous. And we see that a lot, actually, where they are putting themselves in these predicaments so that they can go viral and so that they can have these moments. And it's very interesting to see that happening or reflected here, because you would think, some people would think. Now, again, if she stayed in the town, I have nothing to say in her defense. Nothing at all. Finding your niche as a content creator is important, right? So if this was her niche to get her to where she was, and it is, work your shit, girl. But then also, don't stay in the town where he can get to you. Feel me? But I am interested in seeing what else comes with this and how else this goes. This was a really fun opening, and IDW, I'm loving it. As of today, this is how many days it has been since DC has done anything with a black person in the mainline continuity. And if you still want to sign the petition, please do. We're still fuck DC around here. You already know me. I say it all the time. And then, let's see. If you have not gotten Midnight Whispers, Blood Tide or Saw Blood, please do, because Tide Wound does come out on Halloween. And I'm super looking forward to that, on top of me having a couple comic book projects as well. And if you haven't read Reaper or anything else from Echelon Graphic Novels, check it out. But that is it for this episode of The Doctor's Office, and I will see you guys at your next checkup.